Hey guys, Moonblast here, and for today's video, I have a theory for the Ignomo jubilis Easter egg in Kino Toten and 5. For my first zombies video, I'm making a complete breakdown of all the Easter eggs on Kino Toten, and when I was looking through everything on the map, I knew most of the Easter eggs, but one of them that caught my eye on the wiki trivia page for Kino Toten was the Ignomo jubilis Easter egg. You can find the Ignomo jubilis Easter egg written on a piece of paper that is on top of a book behind a barricade on the stage in Kino, so you can't get to it normally. On the wiki trivia page, it says that Ignomo jubilis roughly translates to laughable mistake. The rough translation part is significant because it means that the translation isn't perfect, so I looked up what other people thought Ignomo jubilis meant, and I was able to find two people who knew Latin that were talking about it. The first being in a Reddit post from Achieve7627 from 6 years ago, and another from Black Wolf where he posted his comment on CallOfDutyZombies.com 11 years ago. In both of their comments, they say that Ignomo isn't a real word in Latin, and that the rough translation was used of a word looking similar to Ignomo. I will also link both comments in the pinned comment in case you want to read them. Although Latin is a dead language, the Latin language is well known, so it's weird that Treyarch would mess up two words in Latin that are intended to be translated into English. And also, in case you don't know, a dead language is just a language that people don't speak anymore. However, people do still speak Latin in Vatican City, but outside of there, nobody really speaks it outside of science and naming organisms. So while making the Kino video, I've had the whole Ignomo jubilis thing in the back of my head. But then I had an aha moment where I realized that Ignomo jubilis was a scientific name. And more specifically, I think Ignomo jubilis is the scientific name for Nova 6 crawlers. We first see the Nova 6 crawlers in Kino Toten, and that's also where we first see the scientific name Ignomo jubilis. We next find this piece of paper with Ignomo jubilis written on it on 5 on a podium in the starting room, and also on 5 are Nova 6 crawlers. The Nova 6 crawlers were created by Group 935 through experiments on zombies, and as a result they have large mouths that are full of sharp teeth, they are able to climb on walls, and they emit Nova 6 gas. However, as a downside, they don't have any eyes and they have to crawl to get around. In Moon, Group 935 does improve the mobility of Nova 6 crawlers though by giving them the ability to teleport. When you turn on the power in Kino Toten, Richtofen also says that Maxis referred to the Nova 6 crawlers as failed experiments. When the United States took Group 935's research about Nova 6 crawlers from Kino Toten, they also took this piece of paper with Ignomo jubilis written on it as well. And in Classified, we learned that the United States made their own version of Nova 6 crawlers by combining human and pig DNA. Alrighty, so now I'll go into more depth into why I think Ignomo jubilis is a scientific name, and I'll also explain scientific names in case you don't know what they are. So every organism has a scientific name, and for instance, our scientific name is Homo sapiens. Each organism has a taxonomic classification starting at domain and followed by kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and specific epithet. Here on the paper, we have a scientific name which includes the genus and the specific epithet. A common mistake that people make is to refer to the specific epithet as the species name, but the species name is the combination of the genus and the specific epithet. Also, the genus name is always capitalized and the specific epithet is never capitalized. And when typing the species name, it is put in italics, while when writing a species name, you underline it. The reason I've mentioned this is because when you look at the Ignomo jubilis written on the paper, you'll notice that the first word is capitalized and the second word isn't, which follows the rules of writing a scientific name. They did, however, forget to underline Ignomo jubilis, but they might have just not wanted to make it super obvious that it's a scientific name. Well, now that we know it's a scientific name, why would Group 935 make a scientific name for Nova 6 crawlers? Well, first, let's look at what a species is. The major defining part of what makes a species is its ability to make fertile offspring of other members of its species. At this point, Group 935 has altered Nova 6 crawlers so much that they are probably no longer able to create fertile offspring of humans, and as such, they would be a new species. The rules of naming state that the official scientific name is the one that first accurately describes it, and as such, Group 935 named Nova 6 crawlers Ignomo jubilus before anyone else were to describe and name it. And since Group 935 consists of scientists, it makes sense that they'd want to name their new species. When I looked up Ignomo jubilis, no species uses this genus or specific epithet. The fact that no species uses the jubilis specific epithet doesn't matter too much, since the specific epithet is just a description of the species that is used to differentiate it from other members of the same genus. However, the completely new genus of Ignomo is significant, since that makes it quite unique as a species. It does happen though, and an example of this is the narwhal, which is the only member of the genus Monodon. The fact that the genus Ignomo isn't used by any species is actually good news for this theory, since it would mean that it'd be open for them to use for Nova 6 crawlers. So to conclude, my theory is that the reason that Ignomo jubilis has a rough translation into English is because it's a scientific name for Nova 6 crawlers and not just two Latin words that are meant to be translated into English. However, if Treyarch was making a scientific name for Nova 6 crawlers, I'd say that they could have made one that better describes Nova 6 crawlers, such as Dentis fedatus. Dentis meaning teeth in reference to their big teeth, and fedatus, which means stinky and refers to the Nova 6 gas that they emit. Since Nova 6 crawlers were created by experimenting on zombified humans, it also makes sense for Nova 6 crawlers to still be in the Homo genus, but it's hard to say. Well, that's the video. Do you guys think I'm right or wrong? Either way, make sure to comment down below what you think Ignomo jubilis means and why the same piece of paper is on both Kino der Toten and 5. Well anyways, I've been Moonblast, and I'll see you guys in the next video.